Welcome, Hudson Valley, to this week's edition of In Touch, the public affairs and issues program that runs across Townsquare Media, the Hudson Valley radio stations. This week's guest is David Chernack, president of the Hudson Valley Bluegrass Association. David and I talk about their upcoming show closing out their 2022-2023 season with the Gibson Brothers on April 22nd at the James Earl Jones Theatre. We also discuss what is to come with the 2023-2024 season, their programs, jam sessions, and David's background with bluegrass music. We invite you to join us and listen to a previously recorded video call between David and myself here on In Touch. We here at In Touch are all about, well, being in touch with what's going on in the Hudson Valley. What better way to stay in touch with what's going on than by downloading the Townsquare Media mobile app for this radio station? Not only can you listen to this station live at any time using the app, but you can also listen to In Touch on demand. Besides In Touch, you can read daily articles about news, events, entertainment, and more that's going on in your community. And when the weather gets bad, you can use the app to check on weather reports and see which schools and organizations might be closed. Your Townsquare Media app is also the best place for concert and event tickets. We're constantly giving away tickets to the hottest shows in the area. Again, you'll have access to all this if you download the Townsquare Media mobile app for this radio station. In Touch is nothing without the support from the hundreds of listeners that we get on a weekly basis. Thank you so much for listening and taking part in the conversation. If you listen to In Touch through a podcast service such as Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please consider leaving a positive review. With more 5-star reviews on these platforms, the algorithms will work harder to promote our show and bring In Touch to new audiences. That and also sharing In Touch with your friends and family is so important. Just sharing our links and listening live each Sunday goes such a long way. Thank you for all that you do to stay in touch with what's going on in the Hudson Valley. Hello, Hudson Valley. You are listening to another episode of In Touch, Townsquare Media, the Hudson Valley's public affairs and issues program. And we got a great episode for you guys today. Something that I'm really excited about. You guys know that I'm a musician myself when I'm not doing In Touch. And it's really great to be able to speak with an organization that is so ingrained in the music community here in the Hudson Valley. With us today, we got David Chernack, president of the Hudson Valley Bluegrass Association. David, how are you today?
Doing great, Connor. How are you?
I'm doing really good, and I'm super happy to have you here. Really great to talk about music and everything. This is such a passion of mine. I feel like the best way to kind of really get into this is, could you give us a little overview on the Hudson Valley Bluegrass Association?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm David Chernack. I'm the president of the Hudson Valley Bluegrass Association. The HVBA was founded in 1994, which is actually a year before I was born, which is pretty crazy. But we are a chartered 501c3 nonprofit. We're an arts and educational organization, and our main focus is promoting bluegrass music and related acoustic music and folk music across the Hudson Valley. And we do that through jam sessions, which are open to the public. We do that through concerts featuring both national and local bands, as well as open mics, collaborations with other institutions and with other venues. So we have a broad suite of things that we do, all in the name of promoting bluegrass music and its sort of related genres. And we've been doing that for a long time and continue to do that today.
Now, I have to ask, what got you into bluegrass music in particular?
Sure. I started playing music myself when I was young. I played violin in school orchestra and things like that. And I was in a program in high school, which sort of exposed a lot of us, classically trained violin and other string students to world fiddle styles, Irish music, Scottish music, music from Quebec, Zydeco, all these different genres. And we also learned a little bit about bluegrass. And that's the one that I sort of latched onto and learned about. I had sort of been introduced to bluegrass through some music that my folks listened to, although they weren't musicians themselves. And then I just sort of kept running with it. Bluegrass is such a great genre because it is so social. It's so collaborative. The music is done by ear. You're singing a common repertoire with all the folks that you're playing with. So, you go to a jam session, you've got your mandolin players, your banjo players, your guitar players, your fiddle players, your bass players, and dobro players. And there's this sort of common repertoire that everybody knows, these classic songs with some of, that date back 70 years to the classic Flatt and Scruggs, Bill Monroe, the sort of forefathers of bluegrass music. And since everybody knows those sort of core songs, and of course, everyone else knows their sort of lesser known stuff that they bring to jam sessions like that, that was really appealing to me as a classical musician, and, something that, I'm used to playing music by the page and being able to learn vocally and instrumentally sort of, through the spoken word almost, in a jam session, picking with other musicians was really, really attractive. And it's, now what I do most of my time when I'm playing music. It's so social, it's so vibrant, and the scene is wonderful. In the Hudson Valley, we've got a lot of great local pickers. We've got a lot of great local bands, some of whom I'm sure we'll talk about later in the episode. Yeah, and it's just such a great genre to be in. You've got folks like me who've been, picking since they were, little kids. And then you've got, folks who have been picking since they're little kids and they've been doing that for 50 years. And then, folks who picked it up in retirement. And it's very sort of egalitarian in that way. Yeah, so that's the great part about the genre is it's very egalitarian. Everybody sort of has this core set of music that they know. So you can really go anywhere in the country or anywhere in the world, really. And if you meet folks who are bluegrass musicians, you're going to have something in common and you're going to be able to, pick together all night long.
That is honestly so cool. I was classically trained myself in college. There's a freedom to it. There's a freedom to be able to collaborate in such a space. Now, I've worked with a number of folk guilds and a number of bluegrass events, and it's always really impressive to see how everything comes to life. And it's so energetic, and it's so much fun typically, and it's great to see the collaboration at work. And one thing I got to say, when you first came on to this episode, I was like, oh my gosh, he's younger than I expected. We're roughly around the same age, because when I see a lot of the few bluegrass events that I have seen, typically a little bit older. So I'm really excited to see somebody on the younger side involved with this then. And I think that kind of leads into one of my next questions I really wanted to bring up is membership and how that you bring people in. There's a number of factors that go into this. I know you guys host workshops and slow jams for beginners who want to get into it. And I know that COVID was a big influencer when it came to just the organization as a whole. So let's get into membership for a second, please.
Sure. Yeah. So as an organization, we fund a lot of our activities by membership dues. We have annual membership available both for families, for concert goers, listeners, et cetera, and then members who are bands. We have a great scene of local bands in the area, of which I'm a member of a couple. They can pay a membership of either $25 a year or for a premium membership for $50 a year, which gets you coverage. You can list your events in our calendar. We have a newsletter that goes out to a couple hundred people, and we have a really, really active membership who come to all of our concerts and all of our member bands concerts. And then also concerts with us. We as an organization host our own concert series in the fall through the spring, and we'll talk about a really great upcoming concert that's closing out our season just in a little bit. So we have that membership with our member bands, and then also family memberships, which are also $25 a year. And that gets you access to our concerts at a lower price. We have $5 off for members at our concerts. And we also hold, sort of special members only events sometimes that our members can get access to. So that's how we fund a lot of our activities as well. We're a 501c3. We're not in it for the money. The concerts that we hold, all of the money that comes in through ticket sales for our concerts goes directly to the artists.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and that was something that became really critical to us during COVID was that a lot of venues shut down and artists, whether they were hobbyists or professionals, didn't have that income from performing. Doing things over Zoom only goes so far. So during COVID, we had our concert season sort of rudely interrupted. And, after sort of figuring out what the best course of action was, we ended up in 2021 hosting a summertime outdoor concert series, which featured a lot of great bands from the Hudson Valley and from New York City. Summertime is an interesting time to be in the bluegrass scene because we have a lot of wonderful bluegrass festivals, which are sort of the culmination of all of that social and collaborative and, just fun having of bluegrass all in one place. We have closer up to in the Irish Catskills, there's the Grey Fox Bluegrass Festivals, which is one of my absolute favorite festivals. I haven't missed a year except for COVID when it was canceled for 2 years.
Naturally.
Yeah, exactly. So, we generally don't have our concerts in the summertime because we know that our membership is out of those festivals. But during COVID, a lot of those festivals were canceled for 2, even 3 years in a row, which was, terrible. And that left a real vacuum for this sort of opportunity for artists to come and play their music. So we had an outdoor concert series in 2021, which went really, really well. Then once it was safe to do so, we resumed our indoor planning or indoor concert programming in 2022. And since then, we've been having concerts at Poughkeepsie Day School, which has a wonderful theater, the James Earl Jones Theatre.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely wonderful space. And we've had some great artists there. And now we're moving into a new old venue that we had previously used before COVID once we start our 2023-2024 concert season this September. But we do have one last concert coming up at the James Earl Jones Theatre, which I'll be happy to talk about in a little bit.
Which is fantastic. No, definitely want to get into that. Before we really get into the end of this concert series and next concert series, I want to talk about those opportunities for those new members. I was really interested in hearing about the slow jams and the workshops and how exactly they work for people who are interested but don't know how to get involved with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. We recognize that not everyone has been playing bluegrass music for half of their life or however long. And it can seem hard to get into. The bluegrass music, like I mentioned, there's a common repertoire that sort of everybody knows, but it's not that, you pick up a guitar and you just absorb this, these songs and these fiddle tunes through osmosis, through picking up an instrument. It takes time and playing with others and hearing those songs, sitting in a big circle in a jam to learn those. So we do host open jams, which are completely open to the public, and they are available both for beginners and for sort of more advanced players who have been doing things for longer. Those happen on the first and third Wednesdays of each month, and sometimes on the fifth week, if there's a fifth Wednesday in that month. Those happen at the Manor at Woodside in Poughkeepsie, which is right on Academy Street. And those happen from 6:30 to 9:30, I believe, on Wednesdays. And those are a great opportunity. I've went to those when I was younger and still go to them today if I have the time to, meet our newer members and encourage people to get involved with the organization. Those jams aren't just open to HVBA members, they're open to the public. And those are a great opportunity too, because, people are welcome to just sort of sit and listen rather than sort of actively participating with an instrument in hand. And those jams are great. I've seen some people come in as just sort of fresh beginners in bluegrass, either, folks who had never picked up a guitar before or picked up an instrument before coming to those jams and sort of just barely learning, or folks who are coming from, say a different genre, some, folks who are musicians but hadn't been exposed to bluegrass yet. And that was sort of their first exposure. And since then, they've, come to learn more and more about it and have gotten better and better and have, become really great musicians or bluegrass musicians in their own right.
That's really incredible. See, I love the collaboration that you guys offer, and hence why I really wanted a chance to highlight it, because it's terrific. And what a way to get people involved. Again, you're listening to In Touch, Townsquare Media, the Hudson Valley's Public Affairs and Issues program. We are sitting down with David Chernack, president of Hudson Valley Bluegrass Association. We've been talking about what the Bluegrass Association is, David's inspirations with the genre, and how new members can get involved, along with some of the perks that current members have had. Now, speaking of a lot of the things that go on with the association, you guys do a lot of fantastic concerts and events. We're wrapping up the 2022-2023 season right now, and in the fall you guys will start the 2023-2024 season after all the bluegrass festivals in the summer. But you guys got an incredible event, the Gibson Brothers Live. They're a big-time bluegrass band. It's going to be happening April 22nd, 7:30 p.m., correct?
Yeah, that's right. That show will be happening at the Poughkeepsie Day School at their wonderful James Earl Jones Theatre. The Gibson Brothers they're upstate New York based, but they're a lot more upstate than we are. You know, they're based near Plattsburgh in the Adirondacks, and they are a perennial favorite. We've had them, I believe, 5 or 6 times since we've started hosting concerts. We started hosting concerts, I believe, in 2008 or 2009. So it's been a while, and we try to have them as often as we can because they are just such a favorite. So the Gibson Brothers are going to be returning for our final concert of the year, or for the spring, I guess, to Poughkeepsie Day School, to their James Earl Jones Theatre. This will be our last concert at Poughkeepsie Day School. We've had them, or we've been having our concerts there since March of 2022, and we'll be moving back to the Unitarian Fellowship later in this season. But the Gibson Brothers are a pair of brothers, Eric and Leigh Gibson, who have been in the bluegrass business for a long, long time. Their vocal stylings are just absolutely amazing. They sing these dual harmonies like only 2 brothers could, and they're just absolutely fantastic. We've had them a good 5 or 6 times at the HVBA over the years, ever since we started having concerts in the late 2000s, and they're just absolutely amazing. They're a band that I listen to all the time. I try to learn their original tunes. I learned some of their guitar solos that they play. They're just such a special group, and we're absolutely thrilled to have them. And our tickets are on sale now at our website, which is hvbluegrass.org. I don't know whether we mentioned that in the episode yet, but tickets are available. And as I mentioned before, there is a discount for HVBA members. So now's a great time to become an HVBA member and come to this concert, which will be a great way to send off our 2022-2023 season.
Fantastic. Yeah. And again, all the links will be included in the description of this episode. So whether you're listening on air right now on the radio, you can go to the mobile app or the website of this radio station, and you can find it under On Demand or the In Touch tabs. We got that all set for you. This sounds like it's going to be incredible. I've actually been lucky enough to see these guys once before too, and so good. You're right. The harmonies are incredible. Just blew me away. Obviously, the playing is very good, but for those listening, if you haven't heard of these guys, haven't heard the harmonies, terrific. Mwah, chef's kiss. So good. And I'm really happy to hear that things are ending off on such a high note for you guys for the 2022-2023 season. But now let's look towards the future. Let's look ahead. 2023-2024 season is going to be coming up in the fall. You guys essentially do it like school years pretty much at this point. Tell us, what are some things that people might be able to expect in that upcoming season? Are you allowed to divulge anything yet?
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of our concerts, we've got our first ones sort of scheduled for the latter half of 2023. The first one is a show that we sort of had in that summer series when we were doing things out of doors. But now that we have a roof over our heads and can do things indoors with COVID easing off again, we're having an absolutely amazing trio, which is Michael Daves, who's a New York City-based guitar player. He's absolutely great. About 10 years ago, he put out an album with Chris Thiele, the mandolin player from Punch Brothers. And, they did a great album of Stanley Brothers and Flatt and Scruggs and other sort of classic bluegrass tunes. Tony Trischka, who is a banjo player who has been on the scene for over 50 years. He's absolutely incredible, sort of a living legend. He's also from the New York City area. And then also Bruce Molsky, who is an old-time and bluegrass fiddler who has also been on the scene for just decades and is a living legend in his own right. So these 3 guys are coming together to do a show. They did this before again in the outdoor series that we had 2 years ago, and it's just great. These are 3 of the best musicians working. Every time I schedule a concert with this, I can't believe I'm emailing these guys, setting up a concert like this. These are the heroes who I listen to and watch their videos from, last year or from, 3 decades ago. It's absolutely crazy to me that, we make this sort of top echelon level of bluegrass accessible to everyone. So we're absolutely thrilled for that show. The next one after that one's in September. Next after that in October is a wonderful musician named Chris Brashear, who is from Western Massachusetts. who's going to be doing a tribute show for John Prine. John Prine, of course, an absolute, a legend in the folk music scene. He's got this, absolutely totally unique, this witty and, sort of sharp and very funny songwriting style and still very tender. And he was one of the first musicians who we lost in COVID. I think he died in April of 2020. Yeah, we're all missing him. And, a lot of times you'll go to a bluegrass show or a bluegrass jam, and, you'll have folks call him John Prine songs. He's, not really a bluegrass musician, but, he's one of those artists whose work is sort of a mainstay in the bluegrass scene. So Chris, who's a wonderful fiddler and guitar player and banjo player, will be pulling a great band together to do a tribute show for John. And we've got tons of other great shows coming up and more to be announced. We're doing one of our sort of annual favorites around Christmas time, which is Mando Madness. We bring together a bunch of local mandolin players who are, some of the best in the area, and, throw 4 or 5 of them on stage and just see what happens. Lots of mandolin picking and fun tunes from bluegrass, and sort of they get some jazzy stuff going on. They get some klezmer stuff going on. It's always a hoot. So yeah, we'll have those and even more coming up on our calendar, which is also available on our website.
That's very cool. And again, we're going to have all the links that people can find all that. You can check out the calendar in the description of this episode. I think that's really cool what you guys are doing. And first of all, I know John Prine very well. Yeah, kind of more on the folksy side, but still cool that his influence and legacy can still live on and, find new stages within something like this, the Bluegrass Association. I think that's really, really neat. And it just kind of goes to show you is like the tragedy of what the pandemic did with music and some of our favorite artists, and now still being able to create this legacy and see everything come forward, hopefully stronger than ever now, which is really incredible to see. Again, you're listening to In Touch, Townsquare Media, the Hudson Valley's Public Affairs and Issues program. We're speaking with David Chernack, president of the Hudson Valley Bluegrass Association. We've been talking a lot about membership, how people can get involved with whether they're a musician and want to try bluegrass, or they're just interested in general, just coming into this new world of it. It's really impressive. We've also been talking about a lot of their events, especially the Gibson Brothers Live. It's going to be April 22nd at 7:30. That's at the James Earl Jones Theatre at Poughkeepsie Day School. And it's going to be a wonderful closing out special for the 2022-2023 season for these guys. If you want more, you can check out what they got coming in 2023 and 2024. Really impressive. David, it has been amazing having you here today. As we wrap things up, what would you say to anybody listening who's interested in bluegrass just to listen, or anybody who might be interested as a musician? What do you recommend? What are some words of wisdom? What are just some last comments that you feel that our audience need to know?
Sure. I think if you're someone who has been listening to this music, and it's, bluegrass music has really had a resurgence in the last 20 years, thanks to things like Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, that film that had such a great score with, bluegrass greats like John Hartford and Ralph Stanley. And that this music has just sort of had this groundswell of more and more interest in it. And it's such an accessible type of music. You don't need to know how to read sheet music to join in. And you can join in on pretty much any instrument. If you've always thought about getting a mandolin or getting a banjo or a guitar to sort of get into playing bluegrass, just do it. That's the hard part. The easy part is, coming into this community of great folks who are just so accepting of new folks and who want to have more pickers around the circle. So, come to our jams, find a local jam in your area if you're not as close to Poughkeepsie, because this community is growing, and there are always people at your skill level. So you're never going to, feel like you're the newest person. You may be at that first jam that you go to, but after that, you're in the community, and you're learning the tools of the trade, and that's the great part about the genre, is that the friends who you make through it are always going to help you become a better musician as well. And if you just want to listen to, that's absolutely fine and wonderful. You're supporting great artists in our area, the ones who come from further afield to share bluegrass music with us. So yeah, just go to a jam, go to a concert. It's good for the soul and great for the community.
Terrific, David. Honestly, thank you so much for being here. Big inspiring episode for me. I always love speaking with other musicians, especially here on In Touch. So David, thank you so much for your time.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Connor. Hope to see you guys at a concert.
Absolutely. This has been this week's edition of In Touch, the public affairs and issues program that runs across Townsquare Media, the Hudson Valley radio stations. We want to give a big thank you to David Chernack. To learn more about the Hudson Valley Bluegrass Association and the upcoming Gibson Brothers show happening April 22nd at the James Earl Jones Theatre, go to hvbluegrass.org. Of course, all links and information can be found in the description of this episode. Thank you to everyone who's been listening to In Touch. Whether you are new, whether you are old to the program, thank you. We've seen a lot of growth in the program in recent months, and we're expecting even more in the rest of the year. You can find In Touch episodes new and old on your favorite streaming services like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and more. That and listen on demand with your Townsquare radio station mobile app. Of course, you can still find all articles and audio under the In Touch tab on this radio station's app and website. And don't forget, we're also on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at InTouch_HV. If you like what we do here on In Touch and want to be on the show, hey, let us know. Whether you have a topic you want discussed or you want to be a guest, the best way is to contact us through our office number, 845-471-1500, or email direct to connor.walsh@townsquaremedia.com. I've been your host, Connor Walsh. Until next time, stay curious, keep an open mind, and as always, I'm glad we get to spend some time.